This is the inside of the Caravelair Antares 406. If I firstly move to where the main control panels are situated, you'll see that the main control panel is in standby mode at the moment. You do not need that turned on to turn on all the lights, etc. They all just have to be individually turned on and off when the caravan is not in use. If I now just press the button here, you'll see that the control panel will illuminate, and at the top here it's just indicating that we are hooked up to mains electricity. You have a little picture of a caravan just here, just indicating that we're using the leisure battery. And then down here we have a car and a caravan. If I press the car, it will give us a voltage reading of the tow vehicle. At the moment it's just giving us a false reading because we're not hitched up. And then if I press this one here, it will then give us a voltage reading of the leisure battery. Ignore this one here. This would be if an internal water tank was fitted. If for any reason on the screen it flashes up that your water's low, just hold this button down and then it will eventually say off, and it will then turn that function back off again. Beside that control panel, we then have the control panel for the Truma heating and hot water system. So at the moment it's just displaying the time and it's letting us know that we're hooked up to mains electricity. If I now press the button, you'll see it will illuminate, and then you'll see a series of icons, and as I begin to rotate this button, they will start to flash. So if we start with the first icon just here, this one is for your heating. If I now click on it, heating is off, and all I now need to do is just rotate and pick whatever temperature I would like it to be inside the caravan, and it will go right the way up to 30 degrees. So once you've decided, just click to store it in, and you'll now see a little flames just appeared above it. That flame there just represents the heating, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in operation, the flame will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If I now click again and move across to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water, and again if I now click, you'll see that hot water is off, and all I now need to do is just rotate, and I can put the hot water in eco mode, which will give us a water temperature of about 40 degrees. If I rotate again, we can heat in hot, which will give us a water temperature of about 60 degrees. And if I rotate again, we can also perform a boost on the boiler. Very handy if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water very quickly. If I do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off as it needs to use that extra power to perform the boost. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If we now move across again, this next one here is power source. So at the moment, to do both heating and hot water, I'm using gas only, indicated by the little gas bottle up here. If I rotate, I can put it into dual fuel mode, so a mixture of gas and mains supply at 1 kilowatt, or a mixture of gas and main supply at 2 kilowatt. This particular settings are very handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly, and it will only consume gas as it's required. And then lastly, we have mains electricity on its own at 1 kilowatt and mains electricity on its own at 2 kilowatts. So being able to drop from 1 to 2 is very handy, just dependent on the amperage of the site you're on to try and avoid tripping. After power source selection, the last icon along the top here is the circulation fan for the heating. So at the moment, the fan is in eco mode. It can be turned up to high or boost. And if I now return and I turn off both hot water and heating, and now return to it, we can also use it to vent the caravan, and it has a fan speed of 1 to 10. Moving now to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer, and if I now click on it, you can set when you would like the timer to begin and then finish. And then once you've set the time parameters, you just decide what you would like on within that time period. Let's say we want to run in dual fuel, and we'll leave the circulation fan in eco. Lastly, timer on or off. If I now activate the timer icon will come up in the corner here, and whenever that timer is active, it will flash. And if I now return to it, we can now turn the timer back off again. And when I go back in, it can then be altered again. Next, we just have clock set just here. And then lastly, we have a picture of a spanner, and this is the settings menu. So within this we have offset, which is just for the thermostat. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly adjust it. The thermostat itself is just here. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of this screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language, index, more for just for the technicians, it just lets them know what software this is running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these control panels may throw up an error code. They are usually something relatively basic, so if you're trying to run the heating or the hot water on main supply and you're not connected or you've tripped, it's going to let you know on the screen. The same being if you're trying to run it on gas and your gas is depleted or not turned on, or there may be some air in the system, etc. An error code will appear as a warning triangle just here, and you'll get a series of numbers and letters in the center of the screen. If you then Google it, it will then usually tell you what the problem is. As I said, 9 times out of 10 it's something relatively easy, and if it can be rectified easily, do that, and then the error code will then usually just automatically disappear. If it hasn't just disappeared, go back to the warning triangle and just double click on it, and it will then usually say no error and disappear. If that's still not the case, if you have anything running along the top here, turn them off, because the system can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If that's still not the case, just do the old-fashioned turn it off and turn it back on again, and the way we do that is just by holding this button in until it says off. If when you turn it back on again you still have an error code, I always then say do the last resort, which is the factory reset, because sometimes that's all that is required. If I now just come down to the bench seat and just remove the cushions, and now I lift up, you will see that we have the Truma combi boiler just here. To drain the boiler down for travel or winterization, it's all just done on the drain valve just here. These particular drain valves are automatic, so if the internal temperature of the caravan drops below about 3 or 4 degrees, this will automatically open and drop all the water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If you are manually draining it, all you need to do is literally twist, and it will then drain all the water out of the boiler underneath the caravan. When it comes to refilling, twist, push back in, fill up the aqua roll, drop in the submersible pump, and then open a tap in the caravan. I usually start with the kitchen sink, turn it to hot. This will then activate the submersible water pump, and then it will start refilling the boiler back up again. Once the water is running freely on hot, then turn it to cold, and then once that's running freely, reclose again, and then go around to the other taps and the shower, etc. Feed the water through again on both hot and cold, and then reclose, and the system will fully reprime. If the boiler has just auto dropped, all that will happen is the blue button will just pop out, and all you need to do is just push it back in again to reset it. The only time you are touching this blue diamond is when you are manually draining it down. Also in here we have the main strip switches. So we've got the individual MCBs just here, main RCD and test button just up here. So if anything's not working on main supply, just check to see if you've tripped at this point. Tucked down here you will also find a couple of gas isolation taps for the fridge and the heating and hot water. All in the on position, and quite frankly they can stay like that. I always say these are more for maintenance than anything else. If you do smell gas in the caravan, go to the source and turn off the gas bottle. If I now move across to the other bench seat and again remove the cushions, you will see underneath here that we have storage, and we also have the battery charger just here. The 12-volt fuses are also located in here as well, just at the top here, and if you just slightly push down you can unhook the front and then remove it, and then you can find all the 12-volt fuses just here. So if anything is not working on 12-volt, just check to see if a fuse is blown. Hob just here. So we've got the electric hot plate that will work when the caravan is connected to mains supply, and it operates just here, and the red light comes on to let you know it's in operation. We then have the two gas rings just here, and it's just a matter of push in, twist and push the igniter. Beneath that you'll find the oven and the grill, and if I now push in to the left I can fire up the oven, and then if I go back to off and push into the right I can then fire up the grill. Sink, and then we have the cutlery drawer just here, and then storage beneath it, and also more storage beneath the oven. Three-way fridge just here. So at the moment we're in the off position just here. If I want to use it on mains electricity, just flick it to the 2-pin plug just there. If you have no main supply, the fridge can be run on gas, and all we need to do is just flick it to the flame just here. And then what we need to do is hold the purge button in and press the igniter at the same time. And then what we want is this line here to drift out of the red into the green to indicate it's lit. As long as it stays in the green, you know it's lit. If it drops back off again, just reattempt to light it. As you can see, it's dropped off. It will sometimes do this a couple of times, especially when a new gas bottle has been fitted, because there's air in the system and it just needs to be purged out. Temperature control just here. And we have the freezer box at the top. And then as soon as you turn it to anything else, it will then automatically put itself back out again. Lastly, we have 12 volt maintain just here. This is the setting you have it on to keep the fridge cold whilst on the move. So it will only work when you are hitched up to a tow vehicle with the engine running. Above the fridge you'll find the wardrobe. In here we have the freestanding table. We then have the solar panel regulator just here. We do not need to do anything with it. It will just smart charge the leisure battery as it's required. Solid green usually means that the battery's at optimum level. Whenever it's popping a charge in, it will just steadily flash green. And then we have the digital amplifier for the max view television aerial on the roof of the caravan. Off and on just here, and control the boost just here. Always make sure it's on before attempting to tune in a television. Dinette just here, which will convert into a set of bunk beds. Storage beneath both of the seats. We then have the washroom. So we have the basin just there, and then the Thetford cassette toilet. To open to the cassette, just slide the lever across, and then this is a manual flush, so it is just lift up and then push down, and then re-close to the cassette again just here. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody has left it open. And then we have the shower just here. The lounge also makes up into a double bed, and it's just a matter of pulling the slats out and then just dropping in the infill.